Hello and welcome to the Rested podcast, where we explore travel time rather than destinations and the joys and surprises of shared transport. My name's Mark Selby. I love the theatre of travel, discovering the stories of journeys and learning how people use their travel time. Liz and I went on a long journey with lots of travel time. It was triggered by the birth of Isla, our new granddaughter in California. It included a plan to reconnect with lost relatives in New Zealand and was influenced by a random meeting at Oxford railway station. Sadly, the public transport we saw on the trip was generally poor, with the notable exceptions of Vancouver, Singapore and Istanbul. Elsewhere, we relied on tuk-tuks, taxis, walking and driving, though the train rides in Sri Lanka were memorable. The people we met and the stories we heard were full of surprises. It's said that our goals fall short of our reach, that we're capable of far more than we set out to achieve. And talking with strangers confirmed that. Our 3-month journey felt adventurous. But driving on New Zealand's South Island, we met an older couple from Perth, Australia. He was 86, she was 84. They told us it was their 5th road trip around New Zealand. Each time they said it would be the last time, but here they were, again. They'd also done a 3-month tour of Europe. They flew to London, picked up a hire car, drove over to Ireland, then around Britain and over to France. They went to Denmark and caught a ferry to Iceland via the Faroe Islands. They explored, then returned and drove around mainland Europe. I don't know many people that would even consider that adventure, whatever their age. And it's not just retirees travelling in their newfound leisure time. One of my cousins and her husband graduated and went travelling for 4.5 years around the world. She'd qualified as a physiotherapist, he'd completed a law degree, and off they went, finding work on the way to fund their adventures. On our travels, we encountered digital nomads and opportunities that you might not imagine for making and saving money. Lodging can be expensive on long trips, but there are pet owners all over the world looking for people to care for their pets while they're away. We tried it using the Trusted House Sitters platform. No money changes hands between the home owners and sitters, but goodness, both parties benefit. The length of the sits ranges from a weekend to a few months. We looked after a very friendly Labradoodle called Rusty in California. The sit gave us accommodation close to our new granddaughter, enabling daily visits, hugs and play, as well as glorious walks with the dog along the North Californian beaches and trails. Walking a dog provides exercise and introductions to strangers. On beaches, dog walkers and dog lovers easily initiate or engage in conversations. It might begin with talking about Rusty, but the chat could go anywhere. Recipes, book or film reviews were commonly shared, as were some incredible stories. Taking Rusty on his regular early morning walk introduced us to other dog walkers familiar with him. That familiarity granted us temporary acceptance by these strangers, almost like a visiting relative. One morning we were talking with the regulars about travelling. One of them talked about an African safari she was going on soon and how she loved animals. Her story was surprising. She was almost adopted by a chimpanzee once. As a schoolgirl, she had a pony and was friends with the daughter of a famous chemicals family. The daughter had a pet chimpanzee called Rosie that became friendly with our fellow dog walker. Each day they took the family's horses out for exercise, and Rosie would ride on her back. At the end of the summer, our fellow dog walker returned to boarding school and was badly missed by Rosie the chimp. Rosie actually became quite difficult, so the family found an ape whisperer in Florida to help improve her behaviour. Rosie was flown down to Florida in a private plane, but tragically it crashed, killing both the pilot and Rosie. We were amazed by the woman's story and told her so. A chimpanzee for a pet, the expense of flying to an ape whisperer, and then the horses. Yes, the family was unusual, she said. One morning I arrived early and found a famous actress, name withheld, drunk and naked on the piano. The father was having an affair with her. Only by engaging with strangers do we discover their stories. Walking a dog is one way to start a conversation, but there are so many others. I'm fascinated by the circular tables, each with 4 fixed metal chairs, at Oxford railway station. I fear they'll be removed soon when the station is redeveloped. The tables are perfect for people watching and for chats with strangers sitting at them. I met a woman from New Zealand at one of the tables last year. We talked about changes in England since her last visit and her travels. She made Tahiti sound such an interesting place that it was added to our adventures route. A great decision that I'll tell you about over the following episodes. I like attending universities' public lectures when I'm travelling. The topics, speakers and attendees have often inspired me or caused me to look at things differently. I attended some talks and workshops on this adventure and had great conversations. Vancouver was our first destination. There I attended talks on political polarisation and misinformation in Canadian politics at the University of British Columbia. It was quite timely, as Trump's 51st state comments were being met with anger and disbelief by our Canadian hosts. Coincidentally, one speaker at UBC referenced the misinformation spread in Oxford when new traffic regulations were being proposed. People can become so angry when they feel they're losing something, such as the ability to drive at high speeds on familiar roads or park anywhere. That sense of loss outweighs the benefits of reducing injuries, noise, or air pollution. The answer seems to be trials. Let people see the benefits of change for themselves, and then ask if they want to lose those benefits. It's pretty rare for people to say they want to go back to driving faster and killing more pedestrians. The news coverage of Trump's comments was difficult to avoid, but on our 3-month journey, I think we watched just 3 hours of live TV in total. Conversations with the people we met didn't automatically centre on the headlines pushed by news editors desperate for audience attention. The topics and stories we shared were far more interesting. I decided to travel by public transit and walk to UBC's large campus, then got wonderfully lost on my return. My mobile apps were of little use, so I resorted to something much better, a bus driver. By this stage, I was some distance from campus on a cold, sunny day, with a long way to go. The driver was brilliant. "Where do you want to go?" "West Van," I replied. "Anywhere specific?" "The Red Lion Pub." Our friend Diane had pointed it out the day before. "A fine ale house," he said. "Hop on, and I'll take you to where you can grab one of the 200 series buses to the Red Lion. Get off at Park Royal, and it's a short walk." Slightly confused, I stepped onto the bus and moved down inside. We set off. After a while, the driver spoke to people standing close to him, telling them this was where I should get off. The message was conveyed down the bus by other passengers. 2 of them disembarked with me and made a point of showing me where I was to get the next bus. "I recommend the 257, said one. "It's the quickest." The kindness of strangers was witnessed again and again on the trip, irrespective of the country or town we were in. To receive it is gratifying and quite humbling, incentivizing me, at least, to pass it forward. On my second ride, I saw another act of civility. At one stop, a man in his 40s, carrying a small bag, stepped onto the bus and started to move down inside without paying. The driver stopped him and said, "If you don't have money for the ride, do me the courtesy of asking if you can ride." The man apologized. The driver said, "Thank you," and gave him a free ride. Sometimes there's the fun of overheard conversations, like listening to a Canadian student trying to describe the flavour of Marmite to someone that had never tasted it. I'd struggle, and normally only eat it when spread thinly on toast with a grilled slice of cheddar on top. Sometimes the kindness of strangers requires no words at all. One afternoon in Tahiti, a group of young boys were bodyboarding on the perfect surf into a small beach by a famous blowhole. They were good. I started filming them from the shade of a tree by the shore. I became aware of a schoolboy standing nearby, with his satchel across his chest, also watching the fun. I then sensed him raise a hand above his head, reach into the tree, pick something, and put it in his mouth. I looked up at the tree, but had no idea what it was. The boy did it again, and this time I watched him. He saw me watching, passed me what he'd picked, and pointed to his mouth, suggesting I try the fruit. It tasted pleasant, and I asked him what it was. He didn't speak English, but just smiled. I now reached up to pick one of the berries, but he waved his finger. I was about to pick an unripe berry. He pointed to a better one and smiled again. We never spoke a word to each other, but he wanted me to enjoy the fruit. Liz and I hadn't planned to drive as far as this blowhole, but just going that little further revealed a perfect beach, some great surfing, and another example of a stranger's kindness. Too often, the goals we set ourselves fall so short of our reach, and we risk missing those wonderful surprises. Thanks for listening to the Rested Podcast. Please subscribe for details of new episodes and tell your friends. I look forward to reading and sharing your travel stories. Please email restedpodcast@gmail.com. And my thanks to everyone that has contributed to Rested so far. Enjoy your travel time.